You're listening to the Play Therapy Podcast with Dr. Brenna Hicks, your source for centered and focused play therapy coaching.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brenna Hicks, the Kid Counselor. This is the Play Therapy Podcast where you get a masterclass in child-centered play therapy and practical support and application for your work with children and their families. In today's episode, I am answering a question from Theodore in the UK. And he mentioned that he has been setting up his playroom and he's wondering about games. So this is an interesting question, and this is a question I get asked pretty frequently, actually. So I'm glad that you brought this up, Theodore. Thanks so much. From the other side of the pond, we greet you. Thanks for being a listener over there. Let me read a little bit of his email, and then we'll talk through it. Thank you so much for the Play Therapy Podcast and your parenting podcast. As a parent and a counselor, I have found both incredibly valuable, and I only wish I had discovered them sooner. I'm currently preparing to see my first clients as a placement counselor as part of my master's program here in the UK. As an integrative program, we draw on some psychoanalysis. What? But the child-centered model is at the heart of what we do. Thank God. I'm wiping sweat off of my brow. I've been arranging my own play materials as per Landreth's guidelines and have considered getting some games such as Jenga and a pack of cards to appeal to older clients. You absolutely should. You have to make sure that your room is preteen and teen friendly. As I'm new to the podcast, this may have been covered already, but I was wondering what a child-centered approach looks like when playing Jenga or turn-taking games. My first thoughts are to keep the child in the lead, and when it comes to my turn to offer, quote, in here, you choose which move I make. But I've been wondering if some kids might find this frustrating that we're not playing the game, quote, for real. I'd appreciate your thoughts on this. Okay. So Theodore, you're actually kind of already on the right track. We'll just kind of tease it apart together. So we do let the child lead when the child sits down to play a game. So what I mean by that is we do not have any expectations of the rules of the game. We do not assume that the game is going to be played according to the instructions. So when the child pulls out a game, they set it up and they get ready to play. And then if they don't already start describing how the game's going to go, when they tell you it's your turn, your immediate response is, tell me what I'm supposed to do. Or, I wonder how I'm supposed to play. Or, I wonder how you play this game. Notice that I said, I wonder how you play this game, because that's very important. It's not, I wonder how this game is played. It's, I wonder how you play this game, because the child can completely make up rules if they feel compelled to do so. So you are going to follow the child's lead in any kind of board game or card game scenario. However, there are going to be kids that are going to say, just like play the regular way. And in that scenario, you say, okay, well, tell me what your regular way is so I make sure that we're on the same page. Or, okay, explain to me the regular way, and then we'll play that way. So they actually are going to coach you through, even if it's the, quote, instruction-based way. So Uno, right? You have to lay the same color or the same number. All right, that is the traditional way to play Uno. So even if they say, if I play a blue 5, you can either play a blue card or you can play a 5. And then if you don't have blue and you don't have a 5, you can play a wild. Okay, so now they've given you the, quote, real way to play the game. You're going to play the game according to the instructions you were given. However, if a child says, okay, you're going to lay down 5 cards at a time, and they can be any color, they can be any number. You just have to make sure that you put 5 down and they have to all add up to more than 15. Okay, creative way to play a game. And so the goal is always have them give you a cue and a prompt as to what the expectations are for playing the game. And when you mentioned that some kids might find it frustrating that we're not playing the game for real is the hinge pin here. For real can be whatever the child chooses it to be. Because when a kid makes up rules to a game, they're playing the game for real, because that is real to them in that moment. So instructions are not necessarily the way that we play the game, right? So typically when a kid says, no, the way like it's supposed to be played, or no, like the real way, or like how it's supposed to be, when they start to get a little bit like agitated like that, and you can tell it's like they want you to tell them how the game is supposed to go, or they expect you to know how the game is supposed to go, my standard response is, you really want me to play it a certain way, but kids play games in all kinds of ways in here. So that's why I'm wondering how you want me to play. As soon as you give the why, right? The why matters. I come back to that all the time. As soon as you give the why to a child, I'm not being defiant. I'm not being difficult. I'm not refusing to play. I'm not trying to do anything other than I'm going to remind you that when kids are in charge, kids get to decide. And so often, a kid will get Don't Break the Ice, or a kid will get Connect Four, or a kid will get Uno or playing cards. Okay, we're going to play whatever game, and we're going to play it the real way or the right way. Sometimes kids will say that, the right way. And in that scenario, I say, you want to play it a specific way. I wonder if you can tell me what that looks like, because kids play games any way that they choose. So I'm not really sure how you would play this game. And sometimes they might roll their eyes and be like, oh my gosh, you're such an idiot, Miss Brenna, but they will then give you the cue, and then you follow that. Okay, so I'm going to lay down a 5 or a blue, and it's always going to be a color or a number match. Right. Okay. So then they've given very clear instructions. Now, at any point, you're not sure exactly what they would have you do. In other words, if you get a reverse, or if you get a draw 2, or if you get a wild, do those play the quote real or right way? That's something that might not have been discussed. So then in that scenario, you revisit it. So you say, okay, and I typically whisper this. So, okay, I got this one, and I'll flip it around. And if it's a reverse or a draw 2 or a skip or any of those specialty cards, then I'm going to say, I wonder what this does. Remember, we have no information that the child doesn't have. We know nothing that the child doesn't know. And we cannot assume anything in a playroom. So just because the quote right way to play, if they explained color and number, they didn't say anything about the specialty cards. So you're going to do a check-in as the game unfolds to just reassure yourself that you're playing according to the child's version of what this looks like. And I'm going to go off on a related aside tangent for a second, so follow me down this rabbit trail. But I forget where this came up. We were talking about Uno, and I was on one of my coaching calls, and one of my therapists showed a video where she was playing Uno. And they were playing that new way where you can double the same exact card. So like a lot of my kids have like told me that this is like a new thing. And so if you play a draw 2, for example, and then they have the exact same card, so you play yellow draw 2 and they have a yellow draw 2 in their hand, they can lay that down and then you have to draw 4. But if you had another draw 2 yellow, you could lay it down and then they'd have to draw 6. Oh, this is nonsense, y'all. Like every time a kid says, oh, we're going to play the double way or whatever they call it, internally, I'm like, no. That is not how Uno is played. And I don't know who came up with this dumb idea, but I hate it. Oh my gosh. That literally, I can go with pretty much any crazy rule that a kid makes up. But for some reason, this whole Uno double the card thing, I'm like, I've had to draw like 12 cards. They laid down like 3 draw 4 wilds. And I'm like, this is craziness. I am not drawing 12 cards. But of course I am, because, child-centered, we don't deviate. The competitor in me, man, I can let go of so many things with games, but that whole rule of you just double the card up, it literally drives me bonkers. Anyway, I'm back on track now. So you might be one of those people that absolutely loves that rule, and you're like, what is the matter with you? I don't know, so many things. So anyway, the point is, a kid is going to take the game in any direction. The kid is going to give you cues, give you directions, and you're going to just follow them. So while at some point, yes, you might say you get to choose which move I make, some kids will absolutely love the idea of moving your piece for you, rolling the dice for you, picking the card for you. Like, they'll actually just play your part in the game because they're in charge. Some kids love that. But some kids want you to actually be the other person in the game. So in that scenario, I wonder what you want me to do. It's not you get to choose which move I make. It's I wonder what you want me to do, or I wonder how you play this game, or I wonder what happens when it's my turn. So that's the way that you get the cue. And let me throw this out because it's a helpful reminder. We only use I wonder statements when we're gathering clinically necessary information. So that is why we're using I wonder statements in this, because you need to know how the child wants to play the game. Please, please, please break yourself of the habit of using I wonder statements just to wonder things. It needs to be for clinically necessary and relevant information. So how a child wants you to play a game, clinically relevant because you need the cue. Be mindful that that's what we reserve I wonder statements for. All right. Theodore, thank you so much for the question. Thanks for listening in the UK. All of my UKers, I'm hoping that I can come speak over there soon. So stay tuned for that. We're trying to see if we can partner with some of the play therapy associations over there and maybe go speak. So I'd love to come across the pond. I was actually there when I was a teenager. I was a student ambassador to the UK, and I visited England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales in one trip. And I would love to go back. So that would be amazing. Theodore, thanks again. If you would like to reach out to me, I'd love to hear from you, Brenna at thekidcounselor.com. Hey, I'd also love some feedback. I'm interested how you all feel about the more frequent Q&As each week. I know I used to only do them on Thursdays, and I've been doing at least 3 a week in the last several weeks. So if you want to shoot me an email and let me know if that's helpful, if it's too much, if you would prefer a lightning round, I'm just curious your thoughts about doing almost a daily Q&A in addition to the curriculum episodes. Just let me know. You know that this is for you, so I want to make sure that it's what it needs to be. All right, y'all. Love you. We'll talk again soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Play Therapy Podcast with Dr. Brenna Hicks. For more episodes and resources, please go to www.playtherapypodcast.com.